Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report. Randy and Craig's all-day game day. Nightstalkers versus the Kingdoms of Men. 2,300 points. The scenario was Salt the Earth. I've been playing the Samuel Nordberg list from the Dash 28 article now for quite a bit of times. And ironically, I've actually never played the original Sam list, or as we call it, the Orthodox Nordberg. And so this is my first outing, believe it or not, with this army, and it's a really good force, and you just have to watch the battle report and see how well it does perform. So it starts out with 5 regiments of pikes, 3 troops of fanatics, 2 hordes of foot guard, and both have 2-handed weapons, 3 heroes on a horse, all with indomitable will, 3 generals on a winged beast, 1 with the blade of slashing, 1 with mace of crushing, and 1 with nothing, and lastly an ASB with loot. The different change from my list from Sam's is Sam has the Trickster's wand, I think, on one of the generals, and instead I used those 15 points for 3 Indomitable Wills, 1 for each of those mounted heroes. So this week, Craig and Sean have been challenging me to go to Craig's house and play his new Melt Your Face list, and I got kind of an inkling that Craig had a new army because Sean told me to load up on shooting. And of course, if you know me, I never load up on shooting. So I knew that meant probably that Craig had bought a Nightstalkers army because he had talked about it last year. So it was kind of fun. So he starts out with 3 regiments of Scarecrows, a regiment of Reapers, 3 Mind Screeches, a regiment of Phantoms, 2 hordes of Butchers, a Shadow Hulk, a Terror, and 2 Horrors, 1 with the Conjurer's Staff and 1 with the Boomstick. I think there was some other stuff, and if I get his list, I will amend this. So this is deployment. I am going to just kind of tell you what the terrain is. In the foreground here, there is a level 3 hill. Over to the right side, there is a impassable ruin. It's height 4. We play the woods as infinitely high. So there's a woods right in front of his Phantoms there. In the middle is a level 3 hill. Next to my deployment zone, on the left side, is another small ruin that's level 4. Over to the far left is a huge swamp, and it is level 0. Over on the far edge of the table is yet another another set of trees, and then another level 4 impassable. This time, though, it has 2 walls, one off each side of it, and really probably closer to a tournament table than we've ever used in one of our games between Craig and I. So kind of refreshing to be able to try that out. Since I'd never played Nightstalkers before, I don't know what to call everything, so I labeled this picture for you, but I'm pretty sure I didn't use the right font. I'm going to have to get with Visibly Riley and see what software he's using, because he does a really good job of his with the showing what each unit is. All those 3 white units are Scarecrows. They're sitting there with each of them have a Mind Screech in between them. Behind them is the portal, and then behind them is one of his units of Bushers. And then as you move closer, there's a Horror, I think is what it's called. I think it had the Boomstick, because I remember getting rained on by lightning bolts. And then a horde of Butchers, and then the Phantoms. Behind that is the Shadow Hulk, and I think that's thing's called a Terror that's there. On this side, just defending that objective, was a unit of Reapers, and then the other Mind Screech. You could see the portal, it kind of butts up. They were hiding behind the impassable terrain here. So they're holding this objective over here on the far left. I got the pleasure a couple of weeks ago of seeing Sam play on UB2 for a game, and he totally sets up different than I do. Maybe that's why my winning percentage is not so good. But I kind of copied his deployment against a list that had a lot more shooting. And so you'll see that, normally what I would do is I would have these 5 units of pikemen, each with a unit of berserkers or fanatics in between each one to jump out. And I think that's normally what he does. But in a more of a threat environment, a shooting threat environment, you'll see where the berserkers are, but fanatics are. So they're up there. So I stick one of the heroes in between them so he can run out and maybe pick off some of the shooting. And then over here on the right side, there's another one of my heroes is lurking behind that unit of pikemen. Behind them is one of my generals on Winged Beast, and he is there to inspire those 5 regiments with his very inspiring. So this is my right flank over here, and I put both units of foot guard together over there. One of them angled so we could march 10 straight ahead and try to get into the battle, because Craig had set up, so centrally that I just could not get to his army. And this is where I made a mistake in my deployment. I probably should have put one unit of great swords here. I'm not great swords, foot guard here, and stuck the other one on the other end where the terrain was a little more open. And that would have been a better setup, because since he was more central, having my guys over here walking 5 to 10 inches a turn was just not going to get it. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure one of these units didn't do anything the whole battle except walk. So that was a mistake on my part. I did have one of my generals on Winged Beast over there. He provides inspiring, and also he is going to try to whip around the flank of the Nightstalkers army and menace their rear. I think here Craig actually had a much better side of the table for his troops to set up in, because he had that impassable terrain on one end over here, and the big woods over here on the left that he could hide behind. I kind of, that one little chunk of impassable terrain my whole army got broken up by those little tiny chunks of it, and kind of made it hard. I guess it's one of those things, is like I hate having a thing to break up your army so much, because then it's like fighting 2 battles instead of one. So, but it was small, and that's the big thing. I mean, it could have been one of these huge Mondo blocks of impassable that I see sometimes at tournaments, and it's like, are you crazy? But anyway, I think I said, if you look over here on my deployment, I said before I would have swapped something out. Well, I would have actually moved that one of those units of foot guard over there where that general on Winged Beast is by himself, and I tried to menace this flank over here. And because he's so tight together, I really could have as a matter of fact, I think I do a double envelopment on him. Would have worked better in this case than what I did this game. So you learn every game. It's just something, I've tried the foot guards split apart. I've tried them together. I've tried them just about every way I could think of, and there's no set rule. I think it's just depending on terrain and your opponent. So I can't say what the perfect deployment is, but that would have helped this game, because you see there's a good amount of open space there in front of that general. We could have got potentially over here and maybe got rid of that mine screech and that unit of reapers, and perhaps taking that objective as well. But but you can see this is what Craig had to look at my army. Like I say, compared to his, mine looks like it's just spread all over creation. But a lot of that was predicated by the terrain, though. This is my first turn. One of the things I usually do in Salt the Earth, and I thought about doing this game, and I think I would have been better off, which is burn all the tokens on my side and go get the other guys. That's kind of, that way I don't have to worry about rear security or anything. I just, move forward, try to get their tokens, and it pushes them harder. And in this game, it really did cost me by not burning them. I should have burned them right off the bat and just went to get his, because I don't really like the Salt the Earth scenario. It's too easy to you can put them 3 inches back in the dang corner of the table, and you can't get to them. So that's one of the things I don't like about the scenario. But you can see that everything moved forward online. The one general on Winged Beast, he moved forward. He was going to try to engage one of the mine screeches early if he left one of them out there too close. And one of the heroes went with him for the same purpose, was because he'd already moved his mine screeches out in front of his army, and both of his horrors. And so I was just trying to get forward and put some pressure on him. I guess he had got first turn, because it looks like he didn't move because he probably backed up. This whole game was just about shooting and backing up. There was really not much tactical maneuver at all, because I had so many troops, and his army is actually kind of small as far as for 2,300 points, and so I'd taken some damage. None of my units were like seriously damaged, but I think maybe he did wound one of my heroes. And my difference in my list and Sam's is I have Indomitable Will on all those heroes. So he wavered him. I just popped the indomitable will and kept right on going the next turn. So that was pretty cool. Up here on the upper right, one of these generals on Winged Beast, he goes flashing around there. I got in a position where I could see pretty much down his line, but he couldn't see me at all. So, I mean, it was kind of a good niche spot right there. And I did the same thing over here on the left side. I know that's not in the picture, but I moved the general on this set. There's a big set of woods here, and I moved him up right behind that to get the angle to jump behind the army. Yeah, here's my general on Winged Beast who had flashed around the trees here to get a good angle on going down the line. I probably should have just went the whole 20 inches and not worried about. I don't know why I was worried about the lightning bolt so much, because I mean, general on Winged Beast has got good leadership. He's got armor 5, so I mean, it's 1 or 2 wounds a turn on average. It's not that bad. I mean, it feels bad when you're getting blasted by it, but it's not that bad. And so that's what I was doing with the. With those guys. What's funny is Craig was so scared of my individuals on the horses that he was nuking them before he would nuke a general on Winged Beast, because he knew how irritating those guys are once they start ping-ponging around your backfield. So in his turn 2, he did what he did most of the game, which is back up. Backed up out of range of everything. He backed up both Mind Screeches to let loose some more lightning bolt hell on me, and the horrors to do the same thing. One of the horrors is over here right next to the castle. He got him in between because he knew my generals, my heroes were on 25 millimeter bases, so he squished him right up against that building, so I couldn't get to him. I guess that's a plan of some sort. Anyway, so he had to start responding to my general on Winged Beast that's kind of sweeping around his flank here, and so he angled a unit of scarecrows there in front of me to protect the flank of his Mind Screech from me charging it with my general on Winged Beast. I actually think I was like a 1/4 inch short. I was just short on thing because, like I said, he was backing up, and so kind of messed up my distance estimating against other people I played, because there was so much retrograde movement. So a little bit of tragedy happened this turn. His shooting wasn't doing as much as I really thought it was going to do to me, and but I mean, I think it was actually fairly low early in the game, but it got hot later in the game. But he shot my general on Winged Beast, who was right in the front, and wavered him with a freaking boxcar. And so now he's stuck right in front of my army. And so I had to figure out how to get by him next turn on top of everything else. So on my second turn, I just kind of push forward again. I don't really have much choice, because it's just I push forward, he backs up and shoots me. So that's kind of how this whole game went. I did move the general on Winged Beast over there to threaten the Reavers. And the lone hero over here on the left, he moves forward to try to get a shot at the Mind Flare. The all the pikemen moved forward kind of as a row. Left the general on Winged Beast behind. He just backed up, which you can do if you're wavered. Over here on my right flank, I was starting to get in range to be able to start doing something, but like I said, every time I'd get close, he'd back up. So I mean, I understand why, because there was ton of stuff over here, but you could see though, like in my deployment, and that if I would have had a unit on my left side and my right side, I would have been in much better shape this game as far as being able to pressure his lines. So this is one of my heroes on the horse doing what they do. He had taken 6 wounds and was wavered the turn before, but I used the indomitable will. I popped it and charged right into one of his Mind Screeches, and I did just 1 wound, but that's all I need to keep him from blasting me with another freaking 6 dice of lightning bolt. So he worked out really well. I mean, those guys are a menace when you're playing against them. They seem like they're everywhere, and I've almost got to the point of thinking that those heroes are better. If you had the choice between 3 Griffins and 3 heroes, I would do maybe 3 heroes and 2 Griffins, at 2K, instead of trying to have all 3 of the big guys. But I just have to play around with it some more and see which one I like the best. But maybe it's a play style thing where Sam likes having the 3 generals all the time, and maybe I like having, the 3 heroes and 2 generals. So, you have to see. That's 2K is different. At 2300 like this, you have everything you want. I mean, you have 3 generals on Winged Beast and 3 heroes and an ASB with loot. So you really got good character selection at 2300 versus at 2150 or 2000. So Craig had moved his phantoms to protect one of his units from me from jumping right in between. Because if he'd have left them going straight, I would have jumped right in between his army. I would have jumped in on the butcher's flank, and it started to threaten that back row over there. But he put them sideways like that, so I couldn't do that, which is a good move. And then for him, I gave him a present by sending him some berserkers over there to mess with him, because you don't want those things charging you in the flank. But he'll respond again. It was cool. I mean, this is a pretty interesting movement over on this side of the table. You can see here I am pressuring him pretty well, closing in as fast as I can. And Craig uses terrain superbly to keep me from getting to him as quick as I could, because, I mean, between the terrain slowing me down and him backing up, I could not get into a fight with him. I mean, there was nothing to fight. It was just move forward, get shot, move forward, get shot. But at some point in time, I was going to get a redemption turn here, where I could do some damage with some of my stalwart fighting troops. Okay, here's where Craig punished me for being dumb, because my unit there of Foot Guard could control both tokens with their unit strength of 4. And I decided to move them forward, and when I did, he jumped over the lines to get them. So then I'm going to have to back up, and I end up backing up and burning both tokens so he can't get to them. But it was just a dumb move. I mean, if I would have just went ahead and burned them, off the bat like I usually do, I could have just been moving forward without worrying about whatever he's doing behind me. So anyway, it was a mistake on my part, because I just never know, whether to be aggressive like that. But I think my play style suggests that I would rather be aggressive all the time instead of sitting back and holding them. Because one of the things I probably could have done this game, thinking strategy-wise, is when he kept backing up and moving like that, is just not do anything. I could have just stayed over here out of lightning bolt range and just backed up the same way and hold all 3 of my tokens and then thrust forth on the last minute with those big unit strength of pikemen, because I had the hill to cover me. And so, move 2 units of pikemen up there. There's unit strength 6. He would be hard-pressed to get enough unit strength on top of that hill to take that token. So, wouldn't have been as fun strategy-wise, but as a strategy to win the scenario, that would have been a much more sound plan, which, like I said, just stay out of lightning bolt range, threaten with all the flyers, and hold all 3 of the objectives, and then push forward very late in the game to get the one in the middle. Because I really seriously doubt he would have moved forward at all to try to get that one, unless I just totally abandoned it. So different strategy. I'll have to think about it next time. I mean, that's the cool thing about games like this and practicing, is that you do learn some things that you think, well, heck, if I'd have just done this, you're like, well, why didn't I do that then? But a lot of times you can't see it when you're playing it, but it's easier once you're doing it like this and after action. This is Monday morning quarterback, if you will. So anyway. I know in Craig's turn, it doesn't look like he's moving, and he's not. He's backing up with everything. But over here, his Reapers had moved over to protect that objective, also to face the General on Winged Beast, or I would have definitely came into their flank, because they're fairly fragile. They're viciously mean unit, but in their flank, they're not that especially good. Of course, most things aren't. His Mind Screech did jump behind the unit so that I couldn't get to it, and so, I mean, like I said, there was not really much happening. His other Mind Screech and his Horror jumped behind a unit over there as well to protect them from getting dumped on by my flying guys. And in the very middle, his Mind Screech that had been wounded backed up through the butchers. I'm sorry. And they're now allowed the butchers to charge in and hit and to kill that guy. I mean, 18 swings and threes, and he already had 6 wounds, so it wasn't going to be a good day for that hero. But he had already done his job, which is allowed me to move forward again without taking a whole bunch more lightning bolt damage. So just like I paid for my mistake over here with the to allow his Phantoms to get behind my army. When he moved his Phantoms out, that let me jump the General on Winged Beast behind his army. Also, now I'm closing in with my, Berserkers and one of my units of Foot Guard. I've kept one of my heroes in reserve, and he is going to go mess with the Phantoms because they landed behind my army. And since he is an individual, he just whips around and charges into them to ground them. And The general on Winged Beast that was wavered on turn 1 is finally kind of getting back into the swing of things. But I was really there just trying to get my to get him to to inspire, because I am getting shot so much. And then the other thing is that one of the ways you use these guys is that if somebody can turn toward like the general on Winged Beast on the right, the guy in the middle sometimes can hit them in the flank. So there's all sorts of possibilities you could do here. But the 3 flyers and the 3 little moving heroes really dictate the other person's movement to some extent. I mean, to a great extent, because you can see Craig is basically in an arc, because he can't afford me to get behind his army with those 3 flyers. So over here, Craig just kind of moved around again. This time he's trying to get enough shooting at my general on Winged Beast. An unharmed general on Winged Beast, he rolls dice out his butt and does 10 wounds to him. I mean, the 6 lightning bolts, you're going to hit 3 times. You should do 1.5 wounds per Mind Screech, and he gets up to 10. It was almost heartbreaking, I have to admit, to get blasterated that much by shooting. So anyway, so it did waver him, and now it kind of screwed up my plan for over here. But took the that much casualties, and then over in the I don't know if you can see him back there, but one of my general Winged Beast is there. I think I was fighting one of his Mind Screeches to try to knock down some of the lightning bolt dice. All right, I don't know if we played this right or not. Alcohol might have been involved at this point in time, so who knows. I did charge it into his Phantoms, and the question was, could I see them? I mean, his base is on the hill, up on the hill, but his leader point is not up on the hill. And I thought if his base was up on top of the hill, I could see him. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I mean, I didn't do a grievous amount of damage to him. I did just 1 wound and grounded him. But it was just something that happened during the game, and I'll have to look it up to see because I don't remember. But his Phantoms were in a really good position behind my army like that to mess me up. I mean, they're not super good fighters, but 45 swings will leave a mark. Oh my gosh, it's turn 4, and I finally actually get to fight. This has just been crazy. I sent both units of Fanatics. They both made their max roll for wild charge, and they went into the Butchers to slow them down. I would have hoped, my plan was to hit them with the Butchers and the General on Winged Beast, but since he got wavered, that was not possible. One of the units of Scarecrows got hit in the front with Fanatics and won the flank by 30 swings from that unit of Pikemen, and they were also coming down the hill. The other General on Winged Beast, I moved him up, A, have inspiring for all my troopies there, and then B, in case I could find somebody to jump over to attack on the following turn. The Berserkers didn't do very much damage. Obviously, the Scarecrows that charged in the flank and the front, they died. The unit in the middle, I think I did 8 wounds, which is amazing since you're hitting on 4s. The one on the left, they were very subpar. I think they did 2 or 3 wounds. But I think I was just so relieved to actually get to roll some dice in a fight than just sit there and get shot the whole time. So one of my generals on Winged Beast charged the Terror in the flank, but my dice were very, very subpar. And I think he just turned around the next turn, and how many wounds have I got? 3. The next turn, I think he turns around and does like 9 or 10 wounds and kills me. I don't know if it was that many, but it felt like it was anyway. So anyway, that was not a good charge for me. So for some reason, Craig he had his portal up right against the fence there, and for some reason he moved it back and exposed the flank of his Reapers. Now I didn't really think there was much of a chance that those pikemen would attack them, but the deal was I wanted to charge in there and maybe get that objective, and take it out, try to burn that one to keep them from winning the game that way. So that was my thought, was just if I can get the unit strength there. But I mean, I knew what my chances of surviving against those Reapers once they turned was 0. So anyway, still worth it. I still didn't understand though why, because there was no way I was going to hurt that portal thing, and the Reapers were probably even with a flank on them with my pikemen. They're not that good anyway. So let's have to see what happens. The Shadow Hulk and the Butchers went in and just slaughtered my poor unit of my 2 units of berserkers. But I mean, I knew that was going to come. The whole thing was I'm trying to get them up there so that I can fight them with my foot guard, which are a much better unit to fight them with. So anyway, the terror turns around, and like I said, I think he does ungodly damage. I mean, it was shocking. Craig's dice were kind of cold early in the game, but they got really good here toward the end, and that was bad for me. But I mean, I've now that I've looked at the terror stats, I don't even know why I was messing with it. I should have been going after something else. So in one horrific turn, I lost both generals on the winged beast, both units of berserkers, and it was rough. I mean, I have to say it was really. My biggest thing is that he had sides moved his butchers over here, the one on the left, and I couldn't get in a flank charge with my berserkers. Even though I had the distance, I don't think I could have done it without pivoting twice. If they were nimble, I could have easily done it, but berserkers are not nimble. So anyway, that's the end of his turn, and like my army was way smaller than it was the turn before. Yeah, my turn, I moved up the pikemen off the hill. That was probably, I should have just left them on the hill. There was no reason to really move them down, especially when I had all those foot guard coming. I charged the berserkers into the terror. I really just was keeping it occupied. I guess my pikemen had wiped out that one unit of scarecrows, and had turned toward the giant and the unit of butchers over there. So wasn't that bad a turn. I mean, I got some retribution there with the getting rid of another scarecrow unit, but just frustration. I just couldn't get to grips with his army because of it was choked between that terrain and the fact that most of the time that he was kind of retrograding to keep me from getting to his army so that he could keep shooting me, which was the right decision. I guess the Shadow Hulk and the Butchers charged into my pikemen. Normally, I would think my pikemen could hold out against Butchers, even if it's just by themselves. But somebody put Brute Sharpness on them, and so that was not going to work out well for me. And so that was the issue there. The terror turned around and killed my unit of fanatics. I actually had him up pretty good, but then somebody rolled 7 out of 8 wounds on regen, and that kind of shot my chance of killing that guy. The butchers are turned to face the flank of my pikemen, and the other pikemen here are just the scarecrows and the pikemen are kind of locked together in what I call slap fighting, which is just you just can't neither one are good enough to hurt each other. So that was the bad thing. This is my turn. I went ahead since he had killed my pikemen. I went ahead and charged my foot guard into his butchers. I did 18 wounds to them. These guys were doomed until I rolled snake eyes. Yes. See, and the thing was, usually I would be very upset about that, but the point is, it was irrelevant to this game how many wounds I did, because the objective. I know it looks like it's there. It actually got knocked. It was further to the left, so I wasn't even in range to try to hold my objective from him. So that was just a dumb move on my part. Inexplicably, Craig had moved that portal up to block my pikemen from doing anything, and then for this turn, he moved it back the other way. Well, that's going to allow my pikemen now to charge his reapers in the flank. And the biggest problem I had was I couldn't get I wanted my general on the winged beast to charge with them, but the mind flayers or mind screeches are so tall I couldn't see past them in order to charge. So I was scrambling for points at this point in time because it just wasn't. I was just trying to keep points away from him, and the fact that those mind screeches had unit strength, and they're sitting there on that one, I couldn't. There was no way I could get anything else in there. So my only shot was to get unit strength on the very far left one here. My mounted hero had done a great job keeping those phantoms grounded. I don't know where their wounds are. I know I did some wounds because otherwise they wouldn't be grounded. But the turn I needed him to not do it, that's the turn he didn't do any wounds, and then they flew over and grabbed the far left objective here. Like I said, usually I burn them all and just defend the middle one, which is what I should have done. Either that or just held back and defended them all, and tried to rush to get the middle one. So a couple different ways to win this scenario. But like I said, I made a mistake here. I mean, I just kind of counted on that hero to keep them occupied so they wouldn't be able to escape. And then he was, once I failed, he was easily able to disengage and go over there and grab those objectives. So my pikeman did have a flank charge on his Reapers, and yes, I know it was hindered. I rolled really well and took him out with one shot. Of course, it's 30 swings, and that's and their armor on the Reapers aren't especially good. So I moved him up there. I moved the General on Wing Beast there, and his job was to, and they burned the objective to get rid of it. So that was pretty cool. I'd lost my unit of pikemen there because I want to say I lost it to the scarecrows. I think it was just some weird dice or something going on there, but I don't remember. And I was doing everything I could to get unit strength around those objectives, but he was just too packed together for me to to wedge anything else in there. So at the end of the game, I had no objectives. I could not get anything with unit strength up there to the top of the hill. And like I say, you see where it actually is, but because I told Craig when it moved the turn, I said, it's not in the right spot. It's got knocked over for some reason. And I went ahead and remeasured it and put it where it's supposed to be. So turn 7 would have been just worse for me. We rolled and there wasn't a turn 7. And turn 7, he would probably beat me 4-0 instead of 2-0. So maybe I was glad that there wasn't a turn 7. So he had the objective that was underneath his terror, and I think he had the objective over there next to the Mind Flayers. But I kind of look at it now and don't know how, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if it was 1-0 or 2-0, what difference does it make? I still came up short against the Nightstalkers. I think that the dice roll that actually lost this game was the scenario. It wasn't any of my bad dice during the game, and there wasn't very many bad dice. I'm not gonna say that there was dice had anything to do with this, but the scenario was very advantageous for the Night Stalker army, especially when they were going to basically just sit back in the back and hold stuff. The thing is that part of this is playing against an army you've never played for. I mean, I've played against Night Stalkers, but I've never played against a high shooting one like this. And I guess that's kind of the standard. I don't know. Like I said, I don't play against them a lot. So we'll have to see, if that's the standard going forward. The biggest thing in this game, I still think, is I should have split up my 2 units of foot guard, one on the left and one on the right, especially when I saw that he's kind of all in the middle like that, and tried some sort of double envelopment along with the 3 flyers and everything else. And so I really think that would have been a better move for me, or heck, even just put 2 units of pikemen on one side of one of my units of foot guard and put them right in the middle, and just try to go that direction and just go straight ahead with them. But like I said, the terrain kind of constrained me here with the swamp, and then there was a woods on the left, and so it just didn't look like there was any fast path forward. And that really did it give me cover? Yeah, but for units that were pointless, so it didn't really matter. And so anyway, Craig's trying out his new army, and it's pretty good. But there's a lot of times when I play games where if I play against an army the first time, I lose against it because you're just not familiar with what it does and its danger level and things like that. And I think that was probably my key, my thing in this game. I just wasn't used to playing against them. I'm used to playing against more orthodox style armies, and I really think that basically if there had been almost any other scenario, I would have won. I mean, if I'd have been playing Invade, I for sure would have won because I had so much unit strength, or Control, any of those type of scenarios like that are kind of common scenarios for tournaments. But then on the other hand, Craig wouldn't have been playing the way he was playing if he wasn't playing the scenario, it's hard to say what would have happened. But the way Craig's army plays is it's really pretty much a stay unengaged type army and just move back and let your shooting go as well as it can go. And it did. I mean, it absolutely eat me up. A couple of times there was just some spiky, like on my one General Wing Beast that had no wounds and took 10 in one turn from lightning bolts, and that was just tragic. Like I say, that was almost an anomaly. I mean, I probably should have taken like 6 or 7, but which is bad, but it's not 10. 10 is horrible on a 14-16 unit. So anyway, but the Nightstalkers are an interesting army. It's obviously very small compared to my army, but the butchers and the Shadowhawk and all that stuff, they are very, very good fighters, and so be interested to see what. And because I've played against Nightstalker armies that are melee armies, and they were tough. So this is probably the first one I've ever played against that had a lot of shooting. So we'll just have to see. Maybe we'll get another game in soon. I actually told him he should drop it down to 2,000 points so that we could do some tournament practice, because Nightstalkers are becoming more and more prevalent at tournaments, and I think it's because of the people that are bringing high amounts of shooting, and at least that's the one thing that they're really good at taking out, is they are a excellent anti-shooting army. And so and plus they have their own significant of their own missile capability with lightning bolt, which is the best shooting in the game. There is nothing better than lightning bolt, I think, right now. I think that I don't know what they need to do with lightning bolt. Maybe nothing. Because like I said, average, it's not, even though with that many dice, it's not with as much unit strength, as much guys I had. It shouldn't have been doing as much damage as it did. So, like I said, it was just a couple of turns. It didn't do hardly anything. Well, the next turn it did a lot. Well, that's okay. But anyhow, like I said, I think that be ready for the next armies, the next fight, and see if I could do a little bit better than I did this time. And at 2,000 points, my army doesn't really change all that much. So, I mean, it does change obviously because it's 300 points less. But I lose a unit of pikemen and a couple other little things. One of my heroes, I think. But otherwise, the army stays pretty much the same. And I'm thinking maybe that his army will shrink, at least have to shrink one of the mind screeches off of it, maybe one of the other little horrors or something like that, to get it down to 2,000 points. So it'd be interesting. I can't wait to try to get revenge on the hated Nightstalkers. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the battle report. I actually have another one coming up that's 4,000 points on the side with all my rats against Craig's Empire of Dust. So looking forward to that, and I'll do the battle report on it probably tomorrow. But it's just a lot going on at 4,000 points on the table, and it's hard to describe. So anyway, I hope you'll watch it tomorrow, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you.